don't really know what you just said, and I wanna hear. You just finished writing your book, or no, or it's now released.
Yeah, so it comes out. I don't know when we're releasing this, but May 20th.
I don't know when we're releasing it either.
Well, hopefully it's already out. Then when this comes out, yeah, it just came out. Then on Amazon, Kindle, audio, anywhere you can get a book.
What is the name of the book?
It's called Free Roll.
And give us a little description for people that don't know your background and your story.
So the shortest version is a kid that grew up in a small town in Wyoming.
Yeah.
When I was 5, my dad went away to prison.
Yeah.
And then I'd see him once in a while. My mom told me he was at college, so they would say he got out every couple of years on spring break, and he would come visit us. And then he disappeared from the age of like 12 to 20. And then I was going to college in Phoenix, and I got a letter from him one day just saying that he would be at the airport in like 3 days, and he wanted to see me. So I went to see him, which was weird because this was before 9/11, so you could go gate to gate.
Yeah.
And I had no idea what my own dad looked like.
Fuck.
So I was just wandering around, and then I saw like a guy in a wife beater and ponytail and brown pants. I was like, yeah, there's my dad.
What will my deadbeat father look like?
Yeah. So then I, ran over, gave him a hug, and then he said, he was moving to Vegas. He had a cocktail waitress girlfriend that I don't know how he got somehow in college, and he's moving to Vegas. So then he invited me. He said I was invited anytime, so then I ended up dropping out of college, and I moved to Vegas to try to be a pirate at the Treasure Island, which was my genius idea. I thought that would be the dream job.
Yeah.
And then I actually got the dream job. I was a runner for a bunch of professional gamblers.
Yes.
So I would just run up and down the strip, carry hundreds of $1,000s of cash.
What does a runner mean?
So I worked for these guys, and they were like older guys that bet out of the office. So then I had to run up and down the strip and bet sports games where they told me to go and try to beat the other runners. So back then it was more before like Twitter and the internet was so big. So we would get information before, we'd get information maybe 5-10 minutes before the casinos.
And you would then want to place the bet before other runners place the bet because that would affect the line?
Yeah, because then the line would move. So
you're placing large sums of money?
Yeah, as much as they would take. So
what does that mean?
Like my boss would always say, people would always be like, what's your limit? He's like, just go outside and look up. And that's my limit. So, we'd work with the casinos because they would only, so I could bet like 20, 25,000.
Yeah, because they don't want to take a $3 million bet on.
Yeah. And it wasn't always, let's say, the Lions are playing and the quarterback, who's your quarterback?
Matt Stafford.
So if Stafford's out, we'd maybe know that. So then I would run in there, and let's say my limit was 25,000. So I'd say, let me bet against the Lions for 25,000.
Yeah. And
then once I got the bet, then I'd pull the sportsbook director to the side, and I'd say, hey, you might want to look at that game. And then they would take it off the board, and that would stop me from like sending in a drunk guy in a suit, betting 250,000. They think they got a sucker. So we kind of worked.
So the casino then would still honor your bet.
Yeah.
But you would just kind of help them, and then hopefully they would. That's hilarious.
Yeah. So back then we would get
Vegas
information.
would do that.
Yeah. Well, it just protected them from, and we weren't always right. Yeah. And then sometimes if they were heavy on a game, they would pull me aside and go, hey, we need like 40 on this game. Can you guys do anything? And then I would call my boss and go, hey, they're heavy on the Tigers. Can we bet? Well, we didn't bet baseball. We couldn't beat baseball, but the Pistons or something. Yeah. And then we would give them some. We'd help each other.
They would adjust a spread for you or something.
Well, anytime I bet the line would move, they'd take it down.
Wow,
because I would
that fucking big.
Bet the max, and they knew if I bet something.
So this is what the book is about.
Yeah. Well, and then the book's more of a relationship of trying to have a relationship with my dad, because then my dad stole $80,000 from me, and then I tried to kill my dad, and then a lot of stuff like that happened. So
I'm not laughing at you. I'm just laughing. I don't know if anyone has ever sat in that chair and said I tried to kill my dad, and I believe them. So the book is now out, and you were recording the voices for Audible.
Yeah.
What were you telling me?
Well, just seeing this microphone. So I did the Audible last weekend. I had to do like 9-hour days, but then my buddy's like,
this is for the audio book.
For the audio of it, yeah.
Okay.
So he was like, I got my, he had some rapper buddies that had a studio, and they were going to give me like a discounted rate. And then I was like, because, just as a broke comedian, I was like, yeah, if I can save $500.
And you were gonna have them do what, like read it?
No, so then I had to read it, and then they had to produce it. So that was like the hardest shit I've ever done. So I would just it took me, because you think it would be easy. I was talking trash. I was like, I got this one take like Jay-Z. And then I get in the studio and I would just mess up my own sentences. And then
you wrote these words.
Yeah. Half the time I go, who wrote this shit? But actually reading it and going through was hard. And then, so luckily I went with my friend who's like a radio producer, and I did it. But I didn't realize how emotional the book would make me at times.
Right.
Because there's bad parts in the beginning about my dad just beat up my mom and all this bad stuff.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
So I'd start crying, and then I was like, God, I'm glad I wasn't with a studio full of rappers.
Fucking white ass cracker over here. Can't even keep his...
I think they would have been crying too. They'd have been mad that I put them in that situation.
Was it therapeutic to put these stories down?
Yeah. A lot of it, people are always like worried about my life about it. Like I didn't remember a lot of the bad stuff because it was before I was like 5. So when I interviewed my mom, about the book, that was the hardest part, is watching my mom have to go through it again and tell me what she, just tell me what she went through. So I didn't, my mom did a good job of protecting us from what was really going on. So I kind of learned a lot from the situation. Okay. I hated my dad anyway, but then to know that, it was like, well, I'm glad we tried to get him.
I think I interviewed my parents for a CD I did a while ago, and it wasn't anything as emotional. It was more just about their lives. And I'm so glad I did that. Holy shit! There's so much that they don't tell us. To protect us.
Yeah, it was.
Or just because they're busy raising you.
Yeah. I enjoyed the whole process of interviewing. I interviewed a lot of people from my past and just learned a lot about my life I didn't know. So that part was cool.
Wow.
For sure. So it was a cool. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. I never imagined how. It took me 2.5 years, and it was just.
How did you type it? Like on a fucking computer?
On a Mac, on a computer.
On fucking Microsoft Word?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, it was just on Microsoft Word, and then I would. I would try to get 1,000 words a day for a while, and then the editing process is just so extensive. And just being broke comedian, I had to reach out to friends. So, I had a lot of friends who are like, I'm a great editor, and they gave me their edits, and then I gave it to someone else, and like, has anyone looked at this? And then they like, oh, I'll fix it. I probably went through 18, 19 people.
Of the edit?
Yeah.
And what are they, is editing more cutting?
No, more just dumb shit by me, just grammar and stupid. Bad semicolon. I don't know any of that shit.
Fuck. Yeah. I don't think anybody knows that shit anymore.
So, I've dropped out of junior college 3 times. Yeah. So I'm not a real scholar. So I think that's the funny part, is when I tell people I wrote a book, they look at me like, really?
Really, dude? Well, then I can write a book. If you.
Yeah.
What did your dad, when you said your dad was in prison, what did he go for?
Just drugs. He's a big drug dealer.
Big drug dealer.
Yeah, so he got in trouble for, I think it just built up, but when he got in, the biggest stuff was just cross state line drugs and stuff. So
we were talking on your podcast about how I was telling the story about how when I moved from LA to New York, I found in my moving van, like a lot of weed. Yeah. That was mine, but I forgot that I had stored it there. And then me and you started chatting on your podcast. It's a really funny conversation because we were like, how easy would it be to just ship drugs through moving companies?
Yeah.
I think we even did a little business plan on your podcast. But that's pretty funny now to hear that about because once you cross state lines, it's a real problem. Right?
Yeah, I guess. I don't. Yeah. It's one of the weird things of I've never. So everyone in my life did drugs, but because of the DARE program, I've never done a drug.
It worked on you.
Because
you're the one person the DARE program worked on.
I took an oath and I've stayed to it. But the DARE program back then was so backwards that they would just tell you if you did drugs, you would either die or go to prison.
It was such fucking garbage.
Yeah. So my mom was smoking weed and my dad was in prison. And I spent my whole junior high yelling at my mom, like the opposite of most kid relationships. Because I was like, you're going to die, Mom. The dog told us
that's
DARE
funny
program.
Yeah.
So I know nothing about drugs. I've never done a drug. I've never.
Well, good.
Yeah, I guess.
Good. I think DARE probably in the Just Say No campaign. I think it probably caused more problems because they just made it so black and white.
Yeah.
And then when people did do drugs or experiment with marijuana, they would feel so much shame and guilt, and it was like I don't know. It just.
Well, I've been talking about it on stage a lot because they also don't tell you how much pussy you're gonna miss out on. Yeah. At this point in life. You
want that pussy?
Yeah.
Or what?
Everyone's like, at the end of the night, I've had a couple girls be like, hey, you want to just go back to my house and smoke a joint or something? I'm like a lame nerd that I got to go home. And they're just like, all right. And I'm like, God.
It is funny. You talk to people that don't drink anymore or are sober, and they're like, everything's great. I feel healthy. I'm happy. I've got great relationships. It's like, but I don't seem to have to fuck as many girls as I used to. It's like, but maybe when you were drunk, maybe if you were sober and you saw the girls you were fucking when you were drunk, you wouldn't want to do it either.
Well, that's true too.
When is your birthday, Brandt?
September 23rd.
September 23rd.
1977.
You don't have to give me the year.
Oh, I don't care. I'm not Hollywood.
You're not.
It's not going to change.
You did just talk about when you're trying to kill your dad. How did you try to kill your dad? Can I ask that?
Yeah. I mean, it has to do with the birthday story.
Great. Well, let's start with the birthday, and we'll.
Well, yeah. So a lot of it started from when I was a kid. That my dad would always say he was going to come for my birthdays, and like a sucker, I believed him the first couple of times. So there was, I had a great stepdad, and then I had a good. I by means didn't have a rough, life growing up, but it was just that promise of him always coming. So blowing out the candles and still looking at the roller skating doors, like, is he gonna come in or not?
Roller skating.
So, like the birthdays, my dad, he messed him up a lot on that just because he always made promises that he, and another thing that a part of it was like. What almost got me in trouble is my dad would always promise that he would send gifts. Yeah. So I would run home every day and wait for the gifts.
Oh, fuck.
And then for a while he was doing it.
Yeah.
And then he stopped because he went back to jail, but he didn't stop making the promises.
Right.
So my parents would go buy these gifts, and then they would wrap them up and send them to the house, covering for my dad.
Oh, my God. Pretending to be from your dad.
And being the piece of shit that my dad is, instead of... My mom eventually said, quit promising these kids all this stuff. We can't afford to give them 2 birthdays.
Right.
And my dad just kept promising. So then
that's addict behavior, right?
Yeah.
Like promising and not being able to, and not even knowing what you promised, probably.
Yeah, and just outlandish shit, like he would just promise stuff that was ridiculous. And then so we would run home every day and wait for the packages because they came the first couple of times and then they didn't. And then so I would say, Mom, what will you call UPS? Where's our packages? Because my dad would just stick with the story. He said, I promise I sent them. So then eventually, my dad, my mom's just finally like, I don't think your dad sent them. And then I came to my dad with that, he'd call collect and I would talk to him. And not only that, my mom had to pay for these bullshit conversations. Right. And my dad told me and my brother that he sent them, he promised, but he said what he thought happened was that the UPS man was keeping our packages and taking them home to his kid.
Dude, but this is, it's always blame someone else, right?
Yeah. So me being a dumb, I'm like 12, my little brother's 10. And so we made a plan. We grabbed 2 other neighborhood kids. And so my dad, one time when my dad came home, he taught us this thing. He took me and my little brother swimming at the swimming pool. Yeah. We got out of the pool and we were taking a shower, and I'm taking a shower and my dad comes in. He goes, son, hold on, get out of the shower. Yeah. And I get out of the shower and he says, son, every time you take a shower from now on, before you get in the shower, put the water on as cold as it can go, and then get in that cold water and shadow box until you count to 15.
Why is he telling you this?
And I was like, why would he do that, Dad? And he was like, son, the way your body reacts when the cold water hits it is the same it'll react if you ever get stabbed. So if you ever get stabbed, you'll be able to fight for 15 seconds. That's what my dad tells a fucking 12-year-old. Yeah. I'm like an idiot. I did that shit till I was like 19. I'm
going to do it tonight.
And I got a girlfriend, and she's like, why are you
doing that?
So
my dad's teaching me how to like run a double play.
Yeah.
And your dad's teaching you how to. Basically, he's teaching you how to fight when you get stabbed.
Yeah. Okay. So like idiots, we had that lesson, and then there was 2 neighborhood kids in my neighborhood that were just badass kids. Yeah. So we told them that we thought the UPS man was doing this. Yeah. So we went up to this diner by our house and we stole these 2 steak knives, and then we made this plan of following the UPS man, and then if we got to his house, if his kids had our stuff, we were gonna get them. So
you're gonna stab.
We were gonna fight these
UPS
kids.
Man.
Yeah. So we follow the UPS man, which is easy when he's stopping every 2 blocks. Yeah. And like we're bunny hopping with steak knives on our bikes, like way scarier than running with scissors and shit. Yeah, and we, of course, we follow him all around the neighborhood. Then he goes back to the hub, and then he gets in his Jeep and drives right off. Right, and we can't follow him, thank God. And like idiots, my neighborhood buddies are like, "You got to throw those steak knives in the there's a lake by my house. I guess they saw it on movies, like, so the police wouldn't come.
Throw the fucking evidence in the lake. Wait, so what is this? I mean, are you truly believe your father on this, or is there a nugget?
No, I believe my dad 100%.
100%. Okay. 100. So the UPS guy is stealing your shit.
Yeah, because my dad's never lied, and the packages that came, and my mom never told us. We thought he was at college doing doing good. My stepdad's like an appraiser.
Yeah.
Which was a good job, but we were like, my dad's been in college. Like, we thought my dad was like doing really good in college, because my dad had the balls of coming home and being like, do good in school. I'm working my ass off. They all stuck with the lie, and we were just kids.
Yeah, you're kids.
Wyoming, we didn't have any reason to think.
And what is the longing? And this may sound like a stupid question, but what is the longing to see and be with your dad? Because you do have a male figure in your life.
Yeah.
Just because it's your dad.
I mean, just because it's my dad, and my dad was so big on that. Even when he wasn't around, he would always just tell us, I love you guys so much. He'd always say blood is thicker than water. That was his thing, and he was like a macho dude, so it was always like, you're my sons. And I think he felt jealous about my stepdad.
Right.
So it was always when we talked to him, remember, you're my sons. Right. So he kind of made it so we couldn't get away from it.
Is your dad alive now?
Yeah, somewhere.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Somewhere, got it. All right, so sorry. So you the UPS guy drives off. You got the fucking steak knives, and you're supposed to dump them now, even though you didn't do anything with them.
Yeah, so we dump them. And then, like, stuff like that, and then the birthdays to follow would be like, we would get cards from my dad.
Yeah.
But it was obvious it wasn't his handwriting. It came from my grandparents and stuff. So it's like, we're not, if I get one card at like 13 and one card at 15, and he's done way better at college.
And he's at college. Yeah.
But we're like, wow, his penmanship got a lot better. And so it was just kind of insulting that they thought we were dumb enough. After my mom sat us down and said, she just gave me an envelope full of newspaper clippings and said, here, I want to be honest with you, this is your dad, and your dad will call tonight if you have any questions.
Your mom kind of wiped this story away and told you the truth at what age?
Well, I was about 13. I was about to start junior high school.
And the newspaper clippings were what? Like, this man was arrested?
Just like his sentence, like, go to Leavenworth, Kansas, drug trafficking, court case, just like newspaper clippings that cut out.
Was this a crazy day for you?
Yeah. So I was shocked because I thought my dad was like this perfect angel.
Yeah.
And then
he was at college.
Yeah. So then to read that, and I was like, and I was stunned. And then my mom said, well, and I was upset, and I went outside, we had a tree house, and I just went up in this tree house, and I was just crying. And I was just, because I thought once again, the DARE program, like, my dad was in prison.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that was like the worst place. I mean, it was an awful place.
Yeah.
So they said, your dad's going to call tonight if you have any questions. And then my dad called that night, but I didn't answer any questions because he was throwing a fit. Because they told him my stepdad wanted to adopt us as his kids. Yeah. And my dad threw a fit because he's like, you're a Tobler. And then, so that whole conversation was like, you're my son and all this, don't say no to all this. And we didn't even know that he was going to do it. So I was so confused. Not only I was all fucked up.
Dude, it's just confusing.
Yeah.
I mean, and you're also learning the truth about your dad for the first time.
And I had so many questions, but he didn't want to talk about that. He just wanted to discuss that I can't get adopted, which I'd say in the book is the only good thing my dad ever did for me.
Yeah.
Because even though my stepdad was great, if he would have adopted me, my name would be Brandt Huffendick. That is my poor little sister.
You probably would sell more comedy albums.
My poor little sister is named Haley Huffendick.
Haley Huffendick.
And, then, of course, later in life, my dad gets out of college and he steals my identity. And just fucks up my credit, so I'm like, well, Brandt Huffendick doesn't sound that bad.
Maybe I could be Brandt Huffendick. Your dad steals your identity.
So then my dad...
It's kind of like you're the parent.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you're telling your mom, don't smoke weed.
Yeah.
It's like you're the responsible one. This is hilarious.
Yeah, so it was the exact opposite. So then my dad just disappears, and then so fast forward to we get to Phoenix, and then one day I get that letter, and I go meet him, and then he's like, you can come to Vegas. So then I eventually moved to Vegas, and I get that job as a runner.
Yeah.
And
your mom cool with this?
And she not really, but I was like, I was just mesmerized by Vegas, and it was cool to. So what happened is I went and I spent 5 days with my dad, me and my two best friends who also didn't have like dads growing up.
Yep.
And we had so having fun, being 20 in Vegas with my dad was like the coolest thing in the world. So we fell in love with it, and then so we all three dropped out. Our families were furious with us.
This is what one weekend in Vegas will do with your friends.
And we went,
out of college.
and also just being dumbasses from Wyoming, we didn't know about casting or anything. We went to try to get jobs as pirates. We were like, because they used to have the pirate ships. That
I remember the pirate ships, dude.
So we're just watching like drunk tourist girls scream for these pirates as they jump off a ship. We were like, what in the world could be better than that?
It's pretty acrobatic.
Yeah,
there's just flames and fucking. Just one chicks are so hot.
And once an hour, we were like, well, this is so. Then we got there, and of course, we didn't get hired. We didn't. We're idiots. And my friends end up moving back home, go back to college, and then. But I was enjoying my time with my dad. So my dad, you know, it was just cool to be around my dad.
Yeah.
And my dad was on parole, so he had to be good, you know.
Yeah.
So we lived in this trailer park with his girlfriend in this trailer, and even though it was like
this is the cocktail waitress.
Yeah.
See, whenever I go to Vegas, I sit somewhere, I have a drink, I see these beautiful cocktail waitresses. And I'm like, who is fucking these girls?
Yeah.
Like, and little do I know, they're in a trailer park. Fucking,
well, no, my dad's girlfriend lived off the strip on like Boulder Highway. Okay, I'm sure she was hot at one point, but she, you know, she had great tits, but she was weathered she'd been doing it for, you know, with my dad.
It does Vegas will beat you down if you live.
She looked like she'd been there for a while. She's a sweet lady, but she was worn out, and so we lived there. So everything was going great with my dad, and it was just cool, and I had this job, and I was making a ton of money, so I rented this beautiful house on the golf course.
Nice.
And then I told my dad, and it was right by his girlfriend's trailer, I was like, just come live with me, and then you can go see your girlfriend whenever, and I'm going to get my little brother to move down.
And you're making good money.
Yeah, so I'm making a lot of money. So
cash probably, huh?
Straight cash.
Yeah.
No worries.
So when you place a $25,000 bet on the Lions or whatever, how do you get paid?
So I was on salary, which got to be like $1,200, but then they paid for all expenses. He gave me a car, paid for all my phone and everything. But then as I figured out how the game worked, when they would, so we used to have Nextels, and they would just beep when something. So he would go, I'd get a beep beep. Hey, look for Detroit -3 if you see it.
Yeah.
Then sometimes we go, hey, go Detroit. We're looking for Detroit now. But then sometimes you just go Detroit, Detroit, Detroit. So when I knew.
And that means like I want fucking on. Detroit. Yeah.
So then I would go up and I would bet, let's say $3,000 for me. That wouldn't move the line, and then I would bet the max for them, and then I would keep that $3,000 because I kept the money with me 24/7, 365. So I could mess with my figure as it went up and down. On Mondays, I would just have to do a figure check. So if I was below, sometimes I'd be down like 5,000. I'd have like, okay, I gotta tighten it up here and don't.
So you're basically using their information
and their money
for their benefit and their money as well.
But that just made me work harder because then they didn't. I don't think they cared because then I would just try to get it to make sure I got a bet in for myself and then get their bets.
Yeah.
So, but they never knew what I was doing. But they're not dumb by any means. They were the smartest dudes in the world. So.
You're not the only runner that's doing this.
Yeah.
That's part of the deal.
But then I had it. But they loved me because by like year 3, I had it where we were doing a lot of shit you weren't supposed to.
Yeah.
Like I was betting games way past. Like I would have bet that Yankees game in like the 17th inning last night, which is very frowned upon.
Is it really?
So they over time, because they don't pay those.
Right.
So I figured out if you just tip the ticket writers or something, they'll let you do whatever you want.
I see.
Because they don't make any money. So anyway, we were making. I was making a ton of money. Everything was great. Okay. My little brother's just like a little stoner dude that lived in Portland, just running a Subway. So I convinced him, hey, move to Vegas and we'll be a happy family.
Yeah.
And so he moved down, and I got him a job at this stuffed animal store in Caesar's Palace, and
that's the dream.
And he was
Subway sandwiches to fucking
but he loved it because he liked to go to concerts, and there's a lot of cool venues. So he was doing good, and most nights we'd go back out on the back porch and just sit and catch up, and my dad would tell us about prison, and we'd tell him about the stuff we missed. So everything was going great, and then and then my dad got off parole. And so the night he got off
parole, you gotta be sober. You gotta check in.
So you gotta be sober. And he had this lady he hated, so he'd have to go down and do piss tests. I think once or twice a week, or he'd have to call and get the color. But he hated it, and he hated this lady. So he would always just say, that it was just ruining his life. And he would always tell us, once I get off parole, I'll be a man again. I can be myself. They won't control me.
I see.
So he got off parole, and it was a big day, and we had a big-ass party for him, and all the family came over and friends, and we had a great night. And then at the end of the night, we were just it was me, my dad, and my brother in the kitchen, and we were just, all very emotional and just like, you did it. We're so proud of you.
Yeah. You're out of prison.
Yeah.
You didn't violate parole. The family's together.
Yeah.
I got a house. Brother's here.
Yeah.
This is great.
Everything's great. And then we went to bed, and that's the last good memory I have of my dad.
Jesus Christ.
Because literally the next day he started back on drugs, and so I'm like 23 I'm 23 at the time, about to turn 24.
Yeah.
My brother's 21, or he's 22, and so my dad starts hanging out with like these little wigger kids, like 20-year-old like white dudes that want to be black gangsters, just like the worst dudes in the world that are like our age.
Yeah.
So he starts bringing them over to the house, and once again I'm like the dad because he's going
up to your house.
He's going up to his room and locking the door, and like I'm like a kid. I'm like, what are you doing up there?
Yeah.
And he won't. And so I could tell everything was going bad.
What was he doing? Drugs?
Yeah. So doing drugs, and like and so for this like 2-week period, everything was going bad. So then my friends came to town.
Yeah.
For my birthday, surprised me on my birthday. 4 of my friends from Wyoming.
September 23rd.
September 23rd, and so they come to town, and one of them's wallet. We were having a great time. We go out at night. Everyone's crashing at the house. My dad's kind of in and out, but not really around. So of course, one of my friend's wallet ends up missing.
Okay. Oh,
so
for
I
fuck's sake.
break into my dad's room. We gave my dad the master bedroom just out of respect when we got the house, even though I was paying for everything. And I find this wallet like hidden under his sink behind all this stuff with all the stuff.
Fucking stole your friend's wallet.
Which is one of the worst conversations I ever had. I had to go tell my friend, "Hey man, I'm sorry, my dad stole your wallet."
Dude, it's all this. I mean, your life. It really is completely role reversal.
Yeah.
Normally, it's the father that said, like, I'm sorry, but my son stole your wallet or whatever.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
So they, and then the day of my birthday came.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of a flashback to when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I was just still waiting for him to say happy birthday or I love you, son, or something. And and on the day of my birthday, we crossed paths like 3 days in the house, and he didn't even say anything to me, and it made me so fucking mad. And then we went out that night, and they bought me my friends bought me a birthday cake, and we ate like half of it.
Yeah.
And when I came home that night, my dad and his friends had ate the rest of my birthday cake that said birthday, but he never
still didn't even acknowledge
my birthday. So I woke up the next, on the 24th, and I was like, and I just knew it was bad.
Yeah.
And I just didn't know what to do. And it's hard to yell at your dad, like you're saying the roles reversed, but it's hard to be like, Dad. And I was like, I gotta get out of here. Something bad's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And I just knew it. And then sure enough, like the following week, my friends left, and and I started to spend the night at my boss's house more because I just had a bad feeling. But I just didn't want to. I don't know. For some reason,
I mean, why wouldn't he? He knew it was your birthday.
Yeah.
Do you think it's because he knows that he let you down, or like, is he afraid to acknowledge it because?
I don't know.
Is it just a fucking ego thing? Like nobody. I mean, it's so weird.
I have no idea if it was just the drugs or if it was just.
Yeah, maybe.
Or maybe he didn't. But I just had to assume he knew it was my birthday. I mean, people are in the house singing fucking happy birthday. And he damn sure knows my birthday when he needed to steal my identity. So it wasn't like he didn't know my mother's maiden name, my social security, and my birthday.
Right.
So I knew it was going bad, and I wanted to get out, but I'm in a lease. I didn't know what to do. And as I'm trying to put together a plan for me and my brother to move out, and I talk to my boss every day about breaking the lease, and then so on one Sunday, it's a Saturday night, I come home from, so on Saturday college football, I'd have to be on the strip at like 8 a.m. and bet till 8 p.m. And I would just run my ass off and try to make more money for them, more money for me.
Are you actually running?
Running, up and down escalators the wrong way, security guards yelling at me, breaking every rule because you want to win.
You got to get there fast,
I didn't give a fuck about the security guards. You had to beat the other runners.
Yeah.
And so I'm exhausted. I come home and my dad's there and he's definitely fucked up a little bit. But I'm like, hey, Dad, if you want to come down tomorrow, I'll comp everything, get you a private booth. You can drink, eat, and watch football. I'll go in and out because I'd have to bet the games and then I'd have a break and then bet the halftimes. I'd have a break.
Yeah.
And for NFL, it was more, know. So I said, if you want to come down, I got you on everything. Yeah. We'll watch football and hang out. And so he goes, okay. So I go to bed. It's like 10 because I got to be up early and I'm exhausted. I crash out. At like 12:30, my brother comes in, wakes me up, and he's like, Brandt, wake up. Someone stole my money.
Oh, shit.
And I jump out of bed And my little brother had saved up like $350 to fly to Portland to watch his girlfriend graduate from college.
Oh, fuck.
And so I run downstairs to be like, Dad, one of your little fucking gangster friends stole Ryan's money. You better get it back. So I'm running around the house looking for my dad, and then I go and I open the garage door to see if his car's there, because he had this Camaro that he thought was so
Of course
dope.
he had a fucking Camaro.
And
That's
it
exactly
always,
what he had.
Always had to be parked in the garage no matter what. So I opened the
This
door.
is just so addiction behavior.
Yeah.
Take.
And then so I opened the garage door to see if his car's there, and then his car's gone, and then it hits me, oh shit, I have all my money upstairs. And I ran upstairs, and he stole $80,000 cash from me.
And he's out.
And he's gone. So I just start crying, punching the floor, and my little brother's crying, and we're just sitting there, and I'm like...
And you don't ever think there's a misunderstanding. You think this is gone.
Yeah.
This is stolen.
No, because I put the money in a box under my bed.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like I just left it on the counter.
Yeah,
And my brother
right,
had his
right.
money tucked away.
Yeah.
And then that's what made me sick about it, was like, okay, you stole $80,000 from millionaires. Not saying it was okay, but maybe in your head you could rationalize that. But then to go steal your son's $350 and like a Fossil watch I brought my brother, and shit that has no pawn store value.
Right.
And I see my little brother crying, and I'm like,
Damn.
I brought him into this, and that's the moment I was like, I'm gonna fucking kill my dad. I'm gonna kill him. So then we got in the car. We drove around looking for my dad all night, trying to find him, and we couldn't. So then the next morning, I had to call my boss and say I was sick because I didn't have the money to go to work, and I still had like this false hope I could get the money back.
And this is basically a lot of your boss's cash, right?
It's all his. It's all my work money.
It's your work money.
Yeah. So it's his money.
I'm not laughing at you, dude.
No,
I'm
no,
laughing
I
at
don't.
this fucking situation. It's a hot mess.
Yeah. So I have to buy some time. So I called my boss, and I'm like, and luckily in the mornings it's busy because football's getting ready to go. So I'm like, I'm sick. I just can't do it. And he's like, all right, if you feel better, we need you out there. But he has no time to ask questions.
Right.
So then we spend the rest of the day trying to find my dad, and we're exhausted because we didn't really sleep. Then my dad finally comes home at like 9 the next day, just yacked out and just. And
what was his drug of choice?
I don't know.
Do you know?
I imagine like everything, but probably like meth and probably shitty drugs when he didn't have any money, and then when he had that money.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I just wonder, like, are these benders that he's staying awake for 3 days and shit? Or
I mean, I imagine, because when it started to go bad, I just distanced myself from it. So I would, and my boss had this 12,000 square foot mansion, so I would go there in like a happy world of.
Right.
And I think a little bit of it was my dad was jealous of my boss.
Yeah.
Because my dad was the guy when we were kids that had the wad of money in his right pocket, bought everything, was the big shot. And now my boss was like, he was the coolest dude in the world. And my boss is the first.
Your boss comps you the meals, and lives you the lifestyle.
And we just live a lifestyle I never dreamed. I mean, he's rich as fuck, and they have Mercedes and shit I never dreamed of.
Right.
And so when I first got hired, so my boss had a partner. When my boss hired me, my boss's partner was gone back in Kentucky for like a month, taking care of his family. But then when he came back, he thought I was an FBI plant.
Oh my God.
Because so then the first couple months, I just had to spend every day with my bosses while they were grilling. Now in hindsight, I realized they were grilling me.
Yeah.
Then they realized I'm just a dumbass kid from Wyoming. But they were, because
he's wearing a wire.
Yeah, because I was a really good basketball player growing up, and when I got to Vegas, there was only one indoor gym. And it was like $125 a month to be a member. It was for just all the rich and famous people in Vegas. But I just wanted to play basketball, so I got a gym membership there. Yeah. But my other boss is like, so you're just telling me this fucking kid moved to Vegas to be a pirate, but he goes to a $125 a month gym, but he lives in a trailer.
Right.
So and they had some problems in the past with the FBI. So I think a little bit, that first month, I just was living this life. I would barely come home. I think my dad was jealous because we were doing really good as father-son every night. And then I was like, I'm eating crab legs and shit at the nicest restaurant. Yeah. So I think there's a little jealousy with my dad. So then my dad came home and just said all these awful things to us and told my family that we were just irresponsible and we lost it. And he was like the youngest son, and my grandparents always believed it. They just believed him. Yeah. And I guess people just don't want to think a dad's going to do that to their son. So he just said all these awful things.
He came home after stealing your money, being gone for 2 days, stealing the Fossil watch, and then starts attacking you.
Yeah, and then we wanted to, and we were screaming at him, and we wanted to fuck him up, but he's way tougher than us. You know, he was in Leavenworth, like one of the hardest prisons, and he's got facial scars from like real riots, race riots and stuff. So we were like, well, we can't beat him up, so we would just yell at him. And then he would just say like the meanest shit to us, you know, and he'd say the meanest things to my little brother. And I'd see, you know, just saying that my mom was a whore and he didn't even know if he was really his dad, which of course he is my dad. And then I see my little brother cry. I was like, we're out of here.
Yeah. So
then we made a plan. I was like, that's it. We're going to kill his ass.
How far from your birthday is this?
This is the week after.
Yeah.
Just the whole, So I know this is supposed to be about my birthday, so it all kind of came together on the birthday.
Dude, we're great. No, this is him eating your birthday cake actually is the thing that pisses me off the most.
Yeah,
right
well,
now.
and just not acknowledging me. That's when it really started to turn. So then, so we made a plan that we were going to kill him, and then, so
what's the plan?
So it's it's obviously a dumbass plan. And this is before like Breaking Bad or Dexter. So
well, if you don't know how to kill somebody, probably your first plan is going to suck. Yeah, I mean, people get good at it.
Well, it's a kind of a funny plan. So when my brother moved, we'd have these back porch conversations. We'd sit and drink beer, and at one point, my dad's like, "Hey, when did you really need me the most?" And I was like, "You know what, Dad? When I was like 19, I got an STD.
Yeah,
and I didn't know what to do, and all my friends are like, if you go to the doctor, they put like a Q-tip down your dick hole, and I was like, oh my God,
it's gonna hurt.
So I was like I babysat this little kid at the time, and then his older sister got her wisdom teeth pulled out. So she had some penicillin. So my friends were like, just take some of that penicillin.
Jesus Christ.
So I did it. And then I told my dad this story. And as I'm telling the story, he turns like bright white, like he saw a ghost. And I was like, what? I thought he'd think it was funny. And he's like, son, when you were 4 years old, I got sick and they prescribed me penicillin. I almost died. I'm like deathly allergic to penicillin.
Oh, no shit.
And he's like, if you would have been, you would have died. And I just laughed. I was like, well, I didn't. My dick cleared up. And we thought it was funny. So fast forward when this happens, I was like, this is it.
Right.
You know, it was like the game of Clue.
Oh, sure.
Like I knew the murder weapon, but I didn't know what room or who was going to do it. So
penicillin is the weapon.
I call my cousin Cato, who he lives in Phoenix, and he's like a real gang member. Like he was the youngest person to ever go to Wyoming Penitentiary. Our family's
what a proud moment.
But he's the most loyal dude in the world. And I called him, and I told him what happened, and he's like, "I'll be there in 5 hours." And he drove straight from Phoenix to Vegas, and he got there, and he's like, "Where's he at?" And I was like, "No, hold on, I got a plan."
Yeah,
because he was just gonna kill him.
Just gonna fucking.
And I was like, "I got a plan that I think will keep us all out of trouble."
Yeah.
And he's like, "What's your plan?" So I told him. So there was a Jamba Juice like 3 blocks from where we lived. Yeah. And my dad would love these Jamba Juices. He used to always get these mango Jamba Juices, right? So I said, what we're going to do, we're going to get some penicillin. We'll put it in a Jamba Juice, and we'll give it to my dad. My dad will drink it. He'll die.
I like how Cato just wanted to fucking kill him.
He wanted to kill him.
Yeah.
He was like, we'll just fucking pin him down and jam penicillin down his throat. I was like, no, trust me. So I said, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to go to Colorado, be with my girlfriend, because everyone will think it's me. And no one knew Cato was there. I said, what I need you guys to do is just get a Jamba Juice, fill it up with penicillin, give it to my dad. Then when he load up all my brother's shit, before all this, then give the penicillin to my dad. When he starts drinking it, then you guys just get in the car, drive to Phoenix.
Peace out.
Somebody will find him dead in a few days in the kitchen or wherever.
Yep.
So they're like, all right. So, Cade gets some penicillin.
Good play. And team.
Yeah. So I fly to Estes Park, and I call him the day of the thing, and they're like, I'm like, are we ready? He's like, we're ready. We're in the fridge, large mango full of penicillin, waiting for my dad to come home. So my dad comes home, and they give him the Jamba Juice, and he doesn't drink it. He just puts it back on the kitchen counter, and like, I know he was probably shocked to see Cato even there. But then I remember my dad was in like real prison, and at this time we're enemies, so you're not gonna take a gift from your enemy.
Yeah, he's.
And I don't think he probably thought we were trying to kill him.
Maybe not.
He didn't drink it. So then I called Cato back like an hour later. I was like, "What happened? What's going on?" And they're like, "He wouldn't take it." And I was like, "Man, you know what? Fuck it. Just go to Phoenix, stick with the plan. I'll come back, and I'll just move all our shit out. We'll just break the lease and never talk to him again.
We won't murder somebody."
Yeah, and Cato's like, "Nah, fuck that." He's like,
Cato wants to do it.
He's like, "I didn't come for this. We're going to end this." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "We got a plan." I was like, what do you mean we got a plan? He's like, "We got a plan." And then he just hung up. Didn't let me ask any questions. So their plan was this, that they knew my dad always had to have that dumb Camaro parked in the garage.
Yep.
So what they did was they opened the garage door, and then they cut the power and the phone lines, and then they just waited in the corner in the dark waiting for my dad to come home. And then, like, sure enough, like an hour later, my dad came home, and he parked his Camaro in the garage, and he's hitting the button trying to get the door to shut, and it wouldn't shut. And he got out of the car, and then he went and he shut the garage door and locked it, and then started to walk through the garage to go into the kitchen, into the house.
Yeah.
And then when he's walking in the house, my brother and cousin jumped out with golf clubs and tried to kill him with golf clubs
For
in
real?
the garage. But what they didn't, so they hit him pretty good a couple of
This
times.
sounds like a bunch of kids trying to kill their dad,
Yeah.
but not really knowing how to do it.
Yeah. But the mistake they made was there was no light in there because the power was
Yeah.
on. So they're swinging away in the dark.
Yeah.
So there's only like one, there's a door that goes to the side yard that leads to the garage, like a door. And on that door in the bottom, there's a little doggy door. So that's the only light coming in.
Right.
And my dad in like survival mode sees that light and just puts his shoulder down and just breaks through that door and falls into the yard and then jumps over the back wall onto the golf course and he runs away.
Fuck.
And then that's it. I never seen him ever again.
And you and your brother went down and moved with you then, or
No,
what?
they left to Phoenix that night because they were scared after trying to kill him and he got away. They got in the car, drove to Phoenix.
How many years ago was this?
17
years.
17.
You haven't seen him since?
I haven't seen him or talked to him.
Do you think you will?
No, I hope not.
You hope not.
I try. So I didn't talk to anyone on that side of the family for a long time, and then, a couple of years ago, my uncle reached out, and I started talking to my uncle mainly just to kind of monitor what he's doing.
Yeah.
But he lives in Vegas,
Okay.
and then, but I guess so we've tried to monitor him just to make sure he doesn't come back into my life.
Right.
But I guess he told his friends he wants to be like a recluse, and he's got like Hep C. I'm just hoping he dies, but
Yeah.
he's
got Hep C.
he probably
Dude.
won't die. So I have to live in. I don't know if I think he's got to feel guilt. He's never tried to come back into my life, but I don't talk to my grandparents on that side. I don't talk to any of them.
Yeah.
But if I'm on a first date or something and I start talking to a girl and we start talking about her family, I'm like,
Yeah.
I just really want my dad to die, and that's like it's pretty aggressive. People are like, "Wait, what?" I explain it.
They
I'm
need
like,
to hear the story.
Yeah. But there's no and then I'll meet like churchy people and shit, and they're like, "Well, what about forgiveness?" I'm like, "We forgave him a million times.
Yeah.
There's no fixing it." So if he comes back into my life, it's only bad because I can never,
I think not that you need it from me. I think you're probably right to stay away.
Yeah. I mean, and he's just been shitty to everyone his whole life.
Then what's the what?
So
what pattern?
I don't need
That's
him
not
around.
going to change. Yeah.
Yeah. So
that is.
he's not going to ruin.
That is a worse birthday.
Ruin any more birthdays.
That
for
is
me.
a worse birthday.
No, I think Candace still wins, but
yeah, that's true. Candace Thomas was bad, but this is definitely the first time someone on this show has decided on their birthday or close to it they're going to murder their parent.
Well, I hope nobody else has to.
Well, it's a fascinating story, and if you want to hear more stories, you got to listen or buy your book.
Yeah, buy the book. It definitely touches on this, but you'll hear what happens after I try to murder him, and then a lot of other crazy stuff happen.
Yeah,
people, millions of dollars go missing. People die. It's a pretty, for a little kid from Wyoming, it's a pretty interesting.
It's
story.
a cool story. I'm also baffled to learn that penicillin will just wipe out an STD. I guess so, huh? Yeah. That's good. That's a good thing.
Unfortunately, I can vouch for it twice in my life.
Twice. Brandt Tobler, where can they find info on you and the book?
Okay, you can just find me, BrandtTobler.com, and I'm on all social media. It's just Brandt, BrandtTobler.
Yep.
And then the book is on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Audible, and you can, if you want like an autographed copy, you can go to Brandt's bookstore, and then I'll sign one and send it to you, or you can just buy it directly
Where's
from
Brandt's
me.
bookstore? Is that on
just
your
Brandt's,
website?
Brandt'sBookstore.com.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay.
So and you can buy Kindle, audio, a hard copy, autographed or paperback autograph there,
You got all that set up
everywhere else. Yeah, hardest thing I've ever done.
dude. Good job,
but
dude.
it's great.
Online
it's a good
store
book.
making is annoying.
Yeah, the whole thing has been. I'm so proud of the book, but it was the hardest shit I've ever done.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I appreciate you sharing the information. Is your podcast still up and running?
Yeah, and then I do have a podcast called The 31.
31. I've been a guest. It's super fun. He just asks his guests 31 questions, and some are meaningful, some are silly. They're all really fun. It's a good podcast.
Yeah,
so
thank you.
Thanks for being on this.
Thank you, buddy.
All right, see ya. Great stuff.
Perfect. Thank you, bud.
That's a hell of a